By all accounts, this was a massive attack that took place overnight on Ukraine, and you already mentioned some of the sort of data, some of the numbers that we're getting from the Ukrainians, with around, I think it was 242 drones, several ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and then that Oreshnik missile as well, which is a gigantic weapons that the Russians have actually only used one time in the past to hit the Ukrainian city of Dnipro, and that was at a time when they were at a standoff with the then Biden administration around possible missiles that the U.S. was then giving to the Ukrainians. So this is certainly a big escalation on the part of the Russians, and one of the first times that they've actually used this missile. And what we've heard from the Ukrainians so far also makes this quite significant, in that the Ukrainians say that it struck near the town of Lviv, fairly close to the border with Poland, so fairly close to the border with NATO. So not only did the Russians use a massive weapons, they also used it very close to the borders of the NATO alliance. And we know from the Russians that they've sort of been putting this weapon out there as one of the sort of mega weapons that they have, saying that it can't be intercepted, that even in a conventional setting that it unleashes the force almost of a nuclear explosion, and certainly something that you don't mess with. Essentially, the Oreshnik is a modified intercontinental ballistic missile that the Russians have now modified to use in the medium range setting. And they have, in recent days and weeks, said that this missile is now on combat duty. They've stationed some of those missiles in neighboring Belarus, which is, of course, a big ally of the Russians. But certainly the messaging from the Russians very much seems to be that you can't mess with the Russians. They are going to continue their military operation in Ukraine, and certainly also the Russians recently feeling some friction with the U.S. and also with the U.S.'s NATO allies as well.